All right, now we're going to move on to the next type of conditional, which is the present unreal conditional. This is the third video in a series of 4 talking about conditionals. The present unreal conditional is a cause and effect relationship. We create a sentence that shows cause and effect. If this thing happens, then that thing happens. Except for with the unreal present, we're talking about imagined situations. Both of them, in the if clause and the result clause, are not real. They're not going to happen. They're imaginary. They're hypothetical. Okay, so let's see how we can do this. Okay, so here's the grammar. Here's the rules for the if clause and the result clause. In the if clause, it's a clause, so you need a subject and a verb, but the verb is going to be in the simple past form. And then in the result clause, you also need a clause, subject and verb, and the verb here can be would or could and some other things, but I'm just going to focus on these 2 because they're the most common. So here's an example. If I had, so here's the if clause, we're using if, okay? If I had, simple past, if I had more time, I would run more. Here's the result clause, I would run. There's my would plus base form. Whenever you use a modal, would, could, should, you always use the base form of a verb after a modal, always. Okay, so if I had more time, I would run more. But I don't. I don't have more time. This is an imaginary situation. It's hypothetical. It's not real. So it's unreal now. I'm talking about right now. If I had more time right now, I would do this, I would do that, da, 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 da. But I don't have any of the time. I don't have any of these things. It's not real, but I can imagine, right? So when we want to imagine something we don't have right now, we use this construction. So simple past in the if clause, would or could in the result. The difference here is if I say, if I had more time, I would run more, that means 100% that would be the result. I would do that. If I say, if I had more time, I could run more, what I'm saying is, in that situation, I would have more time and therefore it would be a possibility for me to use that time running, but I could also eat, I could also travel, whatever, okay? Could means possible. Would means certain. Both of them are not going to happen because I don't have more time. They're unreal. Another thing I want to point out is when you use the verb be, anytime you use the verb be in the if clause, you always have to use were. That's just the rule. Were. So if the verb is be, it has to be were. I know it's weird. It's always were. Okay? So if I were a student learning English, I would definitely speak more. I would learn by speaking. I would learn by reading. That's not real for me right now. I'm not a student learning English. That's unreal. But if it were real, if I were a student learning English, I would do this hypothetically, okay? So if I were a student, I would speak a lot. If I were, I would speak. Okay? Cause, effect. We can also use were and use an if situation to give advice to people. It's really cool. When we say, if I were you, we're talking about an unreal situation. I'm not you, right now. That's impossible, right? So that's why I'm saying were. If I were you, I'm imagining that I'm you. And if I were you, the result is that I would speak more, right? You want to learn English, you want to improve your English. If I were you, I would speak more. If I were you, I would speak more. This is how we can give advice to people in an indirect way. Advice is when we say should or ought to. You should speak more. You ought to speak more. But a little bit more of a, I don't know, indirect way of saying that is if I were you, I would speak more. It's like not so direct, and you can give advice this way. All right, so one final thing I want to point out is that we can also express this idea by saying wish. We can use the word wish because when we wish for things, we're talking about things that are not real. We're imagining things that are not real, right? So I can wish for something right now that's not real. So to do that, I need to use this sort of construction. So here's some examples with wish. Wishes, we use simple past in the verb. And it's not two clauses, it's just one. I wish I had more time. Actually, it is two clauses, never mind. But it's not if clause, result clause, okay? I wish I had more time. This verb needs to be in the simple past. That shows that you're wishing about something right now, but it's imaginary. I wish I had more time right now. I wish I had time right now, but I don't. Or he wishes he were a student. He's not a student. He works all the time. He wishes he were a student because maybe he would be happier or something. So this is for wishes about the present that obviously are not real because wishes are for things we want but we don't have. Okay, so that's how you use the unreal present conditional. The next one we're going to talk about past unreal conditionals.